What's up, everybody? Welcome to another podcast episode of The Trail Ahead. This one, as you can see, doesn't have Caleb in it. Caleb moved to Phoenix. We're still really good friends, old roommate of mine, long-time, lifelong friends. And we will be still doing another episode next week together, but kind of wanted to do a one-on-one with you guys. I just hit a year with alcohol, a year free on February 5th. So it's been a really crazy, wild healing journey, and I just kind of wanted to hop up on here and do a little one-on-one interview on how my life has changed since quitting drinking, how different I feel, why I feel different. And yeah, so I kind of typed up some questions. I'm going to kind of look back and forth at the phone and my laptop. I have some questions written here. So I think the biggest thing is for anyone listening that's thinking about quitting alcohol is how much of a difference your life makes. I think we all have our crutch. We all have our way of kind of coping or tapping out or numbing. And it could be totally different for anyone. It could be sugar. It could be smoking weed. It could be smoking cigarettes. It could be indulging in not healthy food. It could be totally different for everybody. Mine was just probably drinking alcohol and smoking weed. So that's kind of why I personally quit, so yeah, anyways, love having this. Has been really powerful and healing for me as a whole. Just so you all know, for everyone listening, this has been really kind of a scary thing personally for me to do, is to talk about my journey and have the whole world, be able to hear it. But also, we're just so easy to judge. And I think that's the biggest thing we need to realize, is that everyone's walking their own path. Everyone we walk by every single day is walking their own journey and their own path and having their own struggles. So you just don't judge, just kind of, give good energy to them. And that's the best we can do. So I'm going to hop off on this first question. Can you share a little bit about your journey before deciding to quit alcohol? What was your life like at the time? I think where my kind of journey with alcohol came in my big numbing. I drank in college and I drank in high school, senior year, and I was in a fraternity. And I think for me was moving home was probably the biggest, most difficult thing I've dealt with since my accident. I really struggled moving home. I felt like I finally left Sedona and I spread my wings and I was able to grow as a person, as a man, and kind of find myself. I think we don't grow unless we're uncomfortable. And I was so comfortable, in Sedona. I felt like I had my therapist here, my acupuncturist here, my mom here, my family here, my friends. But I think moving back home, I had a lot of hard times here. I was severely bullied as a child, and I had a lot of just hard memories in Sedona. And when I finally left, I finally felt like I spread my wings and grew as a man. And so moving home, it really threw me in a spiral. I was really unhappy. I was just drinking. I was smoking weed. I was just trying to numb. I was missing work. I was just not myself. And I feel like I was losing myself and who Kyle was. And my therapist, Ben, said, Kyle, you can move home and you can sit here in this negative thought process and kind of be like, oh, well, poor me, I moved here. Or you can sit here and say, you know what, I moved here for a reason, right? Like, I moved here to grow. I moved here to find myself. And I think that's the reason now my mentality it switched that appointment. But yeah, that was a big thing for me. It was just moving home, I think, really just kind of threw me in a spiral. What was the turning point or moment when you realized it was time to make a change? I think for me is I was just ready, truly I was unhappy. I was drinking to numb. You wake up hungover, you just kind of feel like a low vibration. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel happy. You're kind of just coasting. And I felt like I was coasting for so long, right? Like I felt like in college I was coasting, after college I was coasting. I just felt like I wasn't reaching my full potential. So I think that was the biggest thing that drove me, was I sat there and just said, and realized like, this is not the true Kyle, right? Like I'm not reaching my full potential. I'm not touching my abilities, or, I'm very empathic. I've always been since I was a child. And I felt like when I was drinking, none of that happened. I didn't have any unloads. I never had any really cool experiences or spiritual experiences. And so I think for me, that was the biggest thing, was I just had enough, right? Like I had enough within myself and enough of not reaching my full potential. What made you decide to quit drinking, and what did the initial stages of that decision look like for you? For me, the biggest thing was I went to Ben, and I did just like the first day that really started my healing journey. Went to Ben, and I did a lot of inner child work, a lot of tapping therapy with him and bringing things up with my father. It was a very difficult session. And then I had a massage with Keenan, one of my good old buddies from college. And he said, I've been practicing how to release energy and muscle. Would you mind practicing if I practice that with you? And at first I was, like, okay, I trust Keenan. So we did it. And I almost like straight up had a panic attack. Like I had so much emotion in my body, and I was like shaking, right? Trembling. It was so much emotion I think it was from my accident. I was seeing scenes from my accident and things like that, which is why I had to get this carpal tunnel surgery. And it was just a lot. And then I had Kimberly, which literally shares a building with Keenan, who's my acupuncturist. And I walked into her office, and I had back-to-back appointments, and I had a very intense session with her. And she told me she wanted me to go to the creek and sit in the creek and put my toes in and watch the water, kind of release everything I was holding in, my anxiety and everything, my life, and, just watch it go away. And so that was my first 90 days of sobriety. I quit for 92 days, and I felt amazing. I had crazy unloads. I had crazy experiences, spiritual experiences, and I'm going to just, it's not a question here, but I'm going to tap this in. I had a lot of really crazy spiritual experiences that kept me going throughout my sobriety. Just as an example, I needed to find a tree, which is why I got this tattoo. Kimberly told me I wanted you to ground. Trees are the most grounded things in the world. They're hundreds of years old. They have roots that go many feet into the ground. They've been there. They've withstood crazy storms. They've withstood anything. They've been there a long time. They've had many people walk under them, journeys of life walk around them. And so sitting under a tree really, really, really helped me. And I actually had a crazy experience where it was my day off. Long story short, I found a tree, and I sat under it and I started crying. I gave this tree everything, like how I was feeling, my anxiety and my emotions, my sadness, my depression, everything. Everything I was feeling. And I wrote, it started pouring cats and dogs, and I was journaling, started pouring like crazy. And I wrote, the sky is letting go as I need to. And it was Lionsgate 8/8. I'm in California, and about like 70 days sober. I'm visiting my friend Chris Winslow. I'm sitting at my favorite beach, Lana Beach, and it's sunny, like sun, no clouds, no rain, nothing. People are tanning all around me. And I break out my journal, and because she wanted me to write everything I wanted to bring in for the Lionsgate 8/8 and manifest. And I'm writing and journaling, and I was like, I'm going to read like my past journal entries. And I flipped to the second page, and it was that journal entry from under the tree. And it said, the sky is letting go as I need to. And I swear, literally as I started reading that, it started raining on me. And I'm like, it's sunny. Like, what? I'm looking at me, and it's literally raining only on me. People are all around me tanning, sunbathing, and here it is raining on me. Like, that has been kind of the healing journey that I've been on, and I truly think that quitting alcohol was a big part of that. And I just met with Kimberly yesterday, and through telehealth, and she really condemned me and really was really proud of me for not even just quitting, right? Because we can sit there and just say, oh, I quit alcohol, like, sweet, I'm a year sober. But if you don't do the work and do it, actually dive deep within and heal, you're just masking it, right? And so you're just going to find another crutch. And so for me, truly, this past year has been such a deep indulgence into my life and into my healing journey, and what has helped me and what doesn't serve me, right? And what doesn't serve me as a purpose, and cutting boundaries with people in my life that don't need to be within my life, right? And don't serve me a purpose, and don't, cutting out things in my life that just don't serve. And so I've done an insane amount of healing. And she was like, Kyle, you need to realize that. Like, yes, you quit alcohol, but you've done so much healing and so much growth, right? And prepared yourself for this new life. Like a year ago, I wasn't ready for a relationship. A year ago, I wouldn't have owned my own home. A year ago, I wouldn't be, not having the life that I have, been able to money to travel. Like, I have so much like life. I feel like I'm living for the first time of my life, like truly, 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 truly living for the first time in my life. And it has been the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing I could seriously, like, I hope everyone listening to this finds that, because truly I feel so happy, and I've never felt more happy in my entire life than sitting across from this camera having this podcast right now. It has been not easy, but so worth it. Like, this side is so much better. This side of so much more beautiful and rich and pure and just amazing, truly. And yeah, I think just I've been, like I said, really empathic my whole life. So maybe that has played a part in it, but I truly think we all have the ability to tap into those abilities. It's just up to us if we want to tap into it or not. Next one, how did quitting alcohol affect your mental and emotional state in the beginning? So in the beginning, it was rough, I think for me is I was so ready, like I said. So for me, I don't know if it was as rough as other people, because I was so ready to change my life. Like, my surroundings, the way I was thinking, my mentality, everything was just kind of low, right? We're a low vibration. And when we drink or when we numb and when we just live that daily life of just numbing, or not on our path, it's low, it's a low vibration. And I think the next question is, what are some unexpected challenges you faced? I think for me, the first in the beginning stages was I was trying to fit in. Like, my biggest trigger probably for drinking was, and I told Kimberly this, was snowboarding, right? Like, if you snowboard or ski, how much alcohol is revolved around snowboarding and skiing. Like, that's literally, you wake up, you're in the parking lot, you're already taking shots, you're passing beers in the car, whatever it is, like, it's so revolved around alcohol. Everyone takes breaks and drinks, and it's a big party, right? Shot skis. And so I think that was my biggest challenge, was trying to find my way of still hanging with my friends and the people around me, but not indulging in alcohol or numbing. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me at first, was trying to find how I fit in with this now sober life. And now it's a lot easier. Like, I remember in my beginning stages, like the first time I went snowboarding with my friend, and I brought NA beers. And so while they were drinking beers, I'm sitting there having an NA beer just to fit in. Like, now I just drink club soda or kombucha or kefir or whatever it is. Like, I think a club soda with lime is really refreshing. I don't need alcohol in my life anymore. I don't need it to have fun. And quite frankly, I think I have a huge amount of more self-confidence than I did a year ago. Did you experience any specific emotional healing or breakthroughs once alcohol was out of the picture? I kind of tapped into that. Yeah, I had a lot of crazy unloads. Another one, I'll give an example, is Kimberly she wanted me to go try to find an alder tree. She had this vision that I needed to go find an alder tree. So here I go. I had like 4 hours before therapy, and I go hiking trying to find this alder tree. I see a picture on Google, and there's one in front of Cathedral Rock. So I'm hiking for like 4 hours. And I finally can't find it. Just like, in the picture, it's luscious and green, and the leaves are all dead. It's now kind of, before winter. And so I'm hiking, and I finally find this tree. It kind of looks like my tree that I have tattooed. And I'm like, wow, that's a really cool tree. And I'm in the middle of nowhere by the creek. And I just break out my journal, and I break out my flute, and I start playing. And I just really sat under the tree and really, really just talked to it, right? And then I go to leave after 30 minutes, and I hug the tree goodbye, and I go around the tree, and there's a note on the tree that literally stated everything that I needed to hear. Basically, long story short, this note said, I hope this person that finds this knows that they can stop searching, and what they need is right in front of them. And it was the most powerful, a healing journey, another big moment of my journey. And I literally was walking the car, can't wait to tell Kimberly what I found. And outside my car on that journey, back to my car, there's a heart rock literally right outside of my car. And it was just a big big pivotal moment in my healing journey. Have I noticed any changes in your self-esteem or self-worth since making this decision? I have the most self-esteem I've ever had in my life in this moment. Yes, I don't have the big body or like the big, arms, or I'm not as fit as I was a couple years ago. I feel mentally the best I ever have felt, right? Like I feel, for instance, we drink, we go out and we want to sing karaoke. We all say it. I'm not going to drink, or I'm not going to sing karaoke until I have like 4 more beers. For me, I could go up there and sing karaoke right now. Like it is so, without like not having alcohol in my life, like my self-esteem is just, it's huge. Like I have a lot more self-esteem. I feel a lot more confident, not only just self-esteem, but like who I am as a man, right? Like how Kyle walks this earth and path every single day is I have an exorbitant more confidence in that. Like I don't need to numb or to kind of mask my stuff anymore. Like I walk this earth every single day with who I am. I walk out this door every day of my house, and the world knows who Kyle is going to walk around. And that like is so powerful and so amazing to even like say. It's a huge healing journey. What physical changes did you notice after you quit drinking? How did your body respond? I've always had stomach issues my whole life. I think drinking played a big part in that. My stomach was always hurting. My mental was fogged. I'm still really skinny. I weigh 146 pounds. And I guess I lost about 20 pounds in this whole journey. And that's crazy, right? Like I feel a lot less. I guess when we drink, our body obviously it retains like inflammation. So that was a big thing. I felt like my body was thinner. I felt healthier. I felt my muscles a lot more hydrated, right? Like there's a lot of things that I felt from quitting alcohol. My mental clarity. That's the next question. How has your sleep, energy levels, or overall being changed since quitting alcohol? My sleep is amazing. My dreams, finally dreaming again. Of course, smoking weed doesn't help with your dreams. Alcohol especially doesn't help with your dreams. I'm dreaming again, and they're very vivid, and they're real, and they're beautiful. My energy levels, I wake up every day, and I'm ready to go. I don't really have that crash. And my overall well-being, my skin is clear, my stomach has no more issues, my mental state is so clear, and I don't have those like mood spirals. I think the problem with alcohol, maybe not everyone has this, but when we're not in a good mental state, right, and we pick up a bottle or an alcohol or whatever it is, it doesn't help. It just is a spiral. Like we think it's going to help, right? Like alcohol for 30 seconds, it makes us happy because it releases chi in our liver, and for a short time, but we only don't have just one. Obviously that one turns into 2 or 3. And so you're not releasing your chi anymore in your liver. You are just replenishing it. And so that was a big thing. My mental health is just a lot more clear since quitting. And what are some resources, books, therapy, support groups that have helped you along the way? I've talked about this with my last podcast. I did go to some AA meetings with some friends, and there are some things that I agree with AA, and there are some things that I don't agree with AA. A big book that has helped me, Huberman Lab, was a really good podcast about alcohol and what it does to our brain and our bodies, and how it takes a while for our bodies to change right after we quit drinking, and not putting that poison into our body. The thing that I don't agree with AA, and other people disagree with me, this is just my personal journey with it, is I think that yes, today or yesterday or a year ago, someone listening to this podcast, whoever, could be an alcoholic. And maybe they can never drink again, right? Maybe they realize their whole life is ruined for 40 years. They've lost their wives, their families, their kids, whatever it is, to alcohol. And so they need AA. They need to say every single day when they go to a meeting, "Hi, my name is blah, 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 and I'm an alcoholic." For me, I don't like putting that border around you. Truly, that's my personal opinion. I think alcoholism, at least for me, was I used it to numb, right? I used it to escape. I used it to forget about my problems in front of me, or to numb from my problems, and to really numb from myself and my mental, and not wanting to hear my personal thoughts. Does that make me an alcoholic, or does that make me not be able to be around it, right? Like, I don't like to go to a meeting and say, hi, my name is Kyle and I'm an alcoholic. I think it borders you into that category, and then you're telling yourself you're an alcoholic. You could quit alcohol for 30 years and you could be alcohol free, but are you doing the healing? And maybe that's just my personal journey. I'm just telling you this is a personal one-on-one, but I just don't really think that that's a really good self-esteem. If you just nail yourself into, a board saying, hi, my name is Kyle and I'm an alcoholic, like, I just don't really think that does you any good for anybody. I think, a better way of saying is, hi, my name's Kyle and I'm happy to be sober. Like, I think that is just a lot more healing, a lot more light way of saying than, because my life is a lot different being sober. My life is happy and pure and beautiful. And alcohol just played a part in that, right? Like, it was a small part. If I just quit alcohol, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you having this podcast and healing the way that I healed. It was a lot more deeper work, and a lot of work to get here, and then to be able to have this podcast in front of you and to talk about this didn't just because I quit drinking alcohol. It was a lot deeper than that. Did you rely on any specific coping mechanisms or practices like meditation, exercise, journaling to support your journey? The biggest thing that has helped me, and I know it's helped a lot of people and even some of my staff, is a gratitude journal. To wake up every single day and grab a journal and write 5 things that you're grateful for, it rewires in your brain, and it will literally change your life. Like, when you're in such a low point, it's so hard to be grateful, right? Where you think, what is the fuck is there to be grateful for? Like, look around me, like, I'm in this low point, for people who are addicted to drugs or whatever it could be. Like, they might be in the lowest point of their life, but even there's so much still to be grateful for. Like, you still woke up, you're still alive. There's sun outside this winter, this weather has been amazing. Like, there's so much to be grateful for, but when you're in such a low point, I was there's not much to be grateful for, you know what I mean? So just grabbing a journal and writing 5 things you're grateful for. Another big thing that helped me in my early stages of my healing journey, and still do it to this day, is I write down 5 negative thoughts that I had the day prior of myself, right? So maybe that is, today, like, I'm not where I want to be. I might not have all the money I want to have, or the job, or whatever it is, right? You write that down, and then you write an antidote saying, like, as an example, I'm not where I want to be. But then your antidote would be, I might not be where I am today, but I'm still working on it every single day, and to get there. And then I burn it. So I write down 5 things and I burn it. The full moons and the new moons have always been something personally to me that have really helped me ever since I was a young child. I grew up in Sedona, so I definitely have a more hippie spiritual side than maybe some of you that are listening to this, but I've really have always tapped into that as a child, and now especially on my healing journey. For the new moons, I write down a huge thing I want to bring in and manifest for the next full moon, or for the next new moon, And for the full moons, I write something I want to release and I burn it. And if I'm feeling like it, I write some things I want to manifest too, and I keep that. But it's kind of like a huge refresh for me, right? Like, it's a huge time to reset and to relook and look back and see how far you've come. And also journaling. Journaling is so amazing. In my journal, I can look back and look and see and how far I've come, and my mental state of my thought processes a year ago. Like, my journal goes back, I think now, like over almost 2 years ago. I can look back on a specific day and think and see. And don't just journal about when there's good times. Journal about those hard times and your wins, your losses, how you came up from those losses and how you turned it into a win or a lesson. Like, those are the most pure journal entries personally for me to go back and look on and say, like, dang, like, I this was my mental state that day, but I turned it around, and I came back and I did it. What does a normal day look like for you now that you're living alcohol free? I think for me, my day to day is I get up, I'm happy, I'm ready to go, I'm ready for the day. I get up, I do some Qigong. I forgot to say that Qigong is what also really, really, really helped me. Even like if it's 8 minutes, I do this 8-minute routine in the morning. It just brings out and releases old chi and brings out new chi. I think that's a really beautiful way to start your day. And I grab my gratitude journal. I write down 5 things I need to be better about meditation. Like we all need to be better. And I just feel like I'm happy, right? Like on my days off, I go out and do things. Like I don't go spend my days off at happy hour, go ask my friends to go meet me for drinks. Like I'm out hiking, not right now, but I'm out, snowboarding is a huge thing for me. And it's just therapy for me, right? Like I put my headphones on and I go. I think a big thing for me and therapy is, doing the things that are your mental health, right? Like I spend my money now on healing things for my mental health. I will go to acupuncture. Acupuncture has changed my life. I will go to Ben. I will go, I make time, get a massage, IV. Like I make time for myself and my mental health. Like I'd rather spend my money not on alcohol or indulging in food than spending it on my mental health and how I can live better longevity of my body. How have your goals, passions, and sense of purpose shifted since quitting alcohol? My sense of purpose, I feel like, has totally shifted. My passions and everything, right? Like I feel happier doing what I used to do. Like, if I go paddleboarding, I used to bring a beer with me and go sit on the lake and drink. Well, now I just lay there and meditate on my paddleboard. Like there's of course to do the same things, but I just am happier. Like my mental clarity is so clear, and there's just so many things that have changed in my life, my outlook on life. Like I was just meeting with Kimberly like a couple days ago, and I told her, she's like, you've been traveling a lot and it seems like you're living life. And it, that hit. And before I could even answer, I was literally thinking about telling her that. Like I feel like I'm literally living my life for one of the first times in my life. And I've traveled the world, I've seen things, I've been blessed enough to see the world. But I feel like now, like I'm living, like I'm going places, I'm enjoying it. I'm sitting there outside and thinking. Like I sit outside and just listen to the birds, listen to the trees, listen to the snowfall. Like there's so much to be grateful for in this life. And we're so blessed, right? Like we're so blessed to live here, live in Sedona, have the sunshine, live in a beautiful place. It's safe. There's not war going on right outside of our windows. We're not being bombed all the time. We're not fighting. We're not, there's just so much to be grateful for, and we're so blessed. And yeah, I just am so happy, like seriously sitting in front of this camera today and being able to talk to you about these things. In what ways has your relationship within yourself evolved since your journey began? And what were some of the toughest moments in your journey since quitting alcohol? How did you push through those challenges? So my relationship with myself evolved because I feel like I have found myself, right? And I'm just a year. Like this is so beautiful to like seriously see what makes Kyle happy. What is Kyle like? What does Kyle do? How does Kyle think? How does Kyle show up in a relationship? How does Kyle show up to his friends? How does Kyle walk this earth, right? Like what is Kyle, what do you guys think of Kyle? What do you guys see Kyle? And there's just so much, like my whole relationship with, I think, a lot of people in my life, my friends, my path, spirit, God, has all evolved so much. And, this podcast is a lot on alcohol, but it's time to heal. Like we all need to just take that time. Like moving back home 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, it's crazy, was the hardest, like most fucked up thing for me in my life, right? Like it literally took me from here, I was living in Colorado, to like way down here, and then now I'm shooting back up. That time between where I'm at now and where I was when I first moved home is beautiful. But when I was living in that, it was not beautiful. It was the complete opposite of that. But now looking back on it, the lessons I've learned from that and the healing I've done, moving back home now 3 years ago, I can say, and I tell people when they ask me, how is it moving back home? It was in the most absolute blessing, most beautiful thing has ever happened to me. It has changed my life. And someone asked me when I was out in Colorado this past week, would you have had this healing journey and this life you have if you didn't move home? And no, I would not have. I still probably would have been drinking and partying, and mountain towns are all about that. And no, so I would not have had this journey. What were some of the toughest moments of your journey quitting alcohol? How did you push through those challenges? I think staying to myself, right? Like I told myself, I'm quitting. And I told myself for at least a year, but here I am sitting in front of you. I don't see any absolute reason for me to drink again, right? I have more money than I've ever had. I have the happiness that I've always wanted and craved my whole life. I have the mental clarity that I've always dreamed of having. I have the friends, the surroundings, a home, there's a business, like there's so much. I love my job, everyone I work with, like there's so much to be grateful for. I feel grateful, right? So why is there a point to drink? I have more money, I can travel the world, like it's crazy how much money, like if you spend, and this is probably a low end for people who go out and party with their friends on the weekends. Obviously you buy drinks for your friends and, you go on dates, you go on a date with a girl, you buy her drinks, you buy yourself drinks, you go out with your friends, like you probably spend what, like $500 a month on alcohol, probably, especially if you live in a big city, probably a lot more than 500, because you're buying drinks for your friends or you're going out to nice cocktail bars that are $20 a drink. I like manage a restaurant. I see how much people spend on alcohol when they come in the restaurant, and it's a lot, right? So like, let's say you spend like, $500 a month on alcohol. That's, it's a lot of money, 6,000, right? Am I wrong? 6,000 a month on 6,000 a year, on alcohol. So, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. $6,000 a year. You could travel the world. You could go on a crazy trip, probably go on 2 trips or a really, really long trip. So for me is like, that is probably the hardest thing, is like kind of just quitting, but then also kind of fitting in, right? Like I can go out with my friends and drink club soda and have fun and sing karaoke. Do I want to be around a bunch of drunk people for 5 hours? No, I personally don't really want to do that. I'll go out with my friends for a few hours and have a few drinks with them and then go home for a couple hours. I'm not going to go out, and spend all night partying. But I think that was probably the hardest thing. And then did you experience any triggers or situations where you felt tempted to drink again? How did you handle these moments? Yeah, a lot. New Year's in Vegas, big one. Hit 12 o'clock. They're handing out free alcohol. I get it like a cup. Happy. It's about a glass of champagne. Happy New Year. Like I could have easily right there drank it, right? And been okay. Like, okay, cool. Like, cause party. Didn't. In Turkey and all my whole journey is all my friends were like, hey bro, I just want to drink with you. I haven't been here for 7 years. Come on bro, like let's drink. Didn't drink, but like a lot of pressure there. I don't understand why you just don't want to drink. It was so funny. Someone told me this and it's so true. Alcohol is the only drug where you have to explain yourself why you don't want to do it. Like if I'm smoking crack and you see me smoking crack, you're going to be asking me why am I smoking crack, right? Like that's an obvious thing. If I'm sitting there having a glass of beer or a wine or a cocktail, you're going to obviously want to indulge with me. You're not going to ask, why am I drinking? It's the only drug where I have to explain why I'm not drinking. People, when I first was on my first, parts of my healing journey, would go, oh, you're not drinking? Like, do you have a problem? Like, no, I don't have a problem. I just don't want to drink. Like, it doesn't agree with me, right? Like, it's like so confusing for me. It's like they kind of put their own energy and own numbingness and like, because you're healing, right? And you're not numbing. It's kind of like they're kind of it's almost like a mirror. They're seeing their shit and they don't want to see it. Did you encounter resistance from others or from yourself during the process of healing? How did you cope with that? Yeah, I've had to explain to a lot of people, even on ski trips. This past one, some of my friends were like, "Come on, bro! Like you're almost at a year. Like you might as well just drink." Let's just say that I was gonna drink after a year. What would that do to my mental state and my self-confidence if I told myself and promised myself at least a year, right? And my friend goes, "Well, dude, it's you're only a week from a year, or 5 days from a year. Well, I don't understand why you just don't do it." If I would have just taken that, right? That's going against myself, my own, like honestly, my own man, like words of a man, right? To myself and to people around me. I'm quitting for at least a year. I don't see any point to start drinking again. But in that moment, if I would have just picked it up, what would that have done to me, right? Like people just need to respect, if you're listening to this and you have friends who are quitting drinking, like just hype them up, right? Like don't sit there and try to like say like, "Oh, well, you should just take this," or "I just don't understand why you don't want to drink." Like just let them be. Like I said in the beginning of this podcast, like everyone is on their own journey. Like everyone is dealing with their own stuff, right? Like just let them be, let them heal, let them grow, and let them find themselves. Looking back, what advice would you give to your past self when you were struggling with alcohol? I think the advice that I would give to my past self is like, this life is so much better, right? Like this side of sobriety and numbing. This is really reflecting on alcohol, and I wish it was more about healing. I should have done these questions a little bit more about healing. But looking back, what advice would you give yourself when you were just numbing instead of struggling with alcohol, when you were just numbing? Like numbing is so easy. It's the easiest way to tap out, right? Like there's a liquor store at every corner. There's a dispensary in every town. And everyone's doing it, right? So like, why would you not numb? Like, why would you not go and pick up a joint or go to the dispensary and, buy weed, or go to the liquor store and pick up some beers on the way home after work to distress? Like, why would you not? Everyone's doing it. Everyone goes out. Like, it's that to me is that's the problem is not alcohol itself. It's the numbing. And that could be with sugar. That could be with indulging in fat foods. I mean, sugar is I've never had a problem with sugar, except when I was a kid, but a lot of people do, and that's a way of tapping too. But the advice that I would give is this side of life is so much better without numbing. Like there is so much sitting in your shit and sitting there and taking it all in and feeling it, whether it's the hardest lesson or like the hardest emotional time where you're crying and bawling your eyes out. It is the most beautiful thing, and is a lesson that we all need to do and have, is to like learn to just sit in our shit and listen to the voices inside ourselves, but also turn those voices into a positive thing. Like that's something that I have been working on for next thing. And that's the thing, is how do you stay motivated to maintain your sobriety even on tough days or in challenging situations? It's like, because I was so ready. This life is so beautiful, right? Like I can't picture anything else than this happiness I have right now. Like I have been on such a high. And even I remember going to Kimberly when I was feeling a little bit low after, and she goes, "Well, you're out of this pink cloud, right? Like you have been on such a high. Now it's this time of chop wood, carry water, right? Like it's not all going to be up and high and happy. Like now you're rewiring your brain, and you're used to just numbing, right? Like when shit got tough, you used to run. And that was with my father, or personally. It wasn't always just alcohol or weed. Like I would just run. It was relationships, it was friendships. Like when shit got tough, I would just book it. And so now that's not an option, right? Like running is option Z, and that's not going to happen. And so just staying motivated is looking back on a time of your life, or maybe during your journey where you were in a really low point, and thinking, okay, well now, like, look at my life, right? Like I'm sitting here today, February 8th, and it's been a year and 3 days, and I feel amazing, right? Like keep that going, right? And a big thing in the early stages too is just take every day by day, right? Like if you are wanting to quit, it could be sugar, alcohol, or weed, or whatever it is. I'm not drinking or smoking or eating sugar today. Like today is February 8th. I'm not doing it. If you have a craving, today I'm not going to do it. They say it takes a craving as 30 to 60 seconds, and that's it. So if you beat that 30 to 60 seconds, you've already done it. You're done. Like you've already gone over the hump, right? So that's a win within itself right there. If someone listening right now is thinking about quitting alcohol, what would you say to them? And what would you want them to know? I think I've said this a lot, this podcast, that this life, this part of this life and this side is so much better. And it goes way deeper than just drinking alcohol. It's about numbing. Stop numbing. Sit in your stuff, think, listen, find another thing that helps, right? In my first stages of quitting drinking, I started drinking club soda a lot, Topo Chico, with some lime or whatever it is. Find that drink that kind of helps you, whatever. And now I don't need it. And for me, it's if you're wanting to quit alcohol, just do it. Truly, just sit there and write the pros and cons. Write down on a piece of paper the pros of drinking and the cons of drinking. Just start there, and see, or numbing or drinking, whatever. See how different, right? The pros and the cons. It's the pros of quitting drinking are pages, and the cons of quitting drinking is maybe one or two things, right? And it's such a more beautiful life. You have so much more money, for me. And then do something, right? Okay, so if you're trying to lose weight, buy a shirt or clothes or a dress or a suit of something that you really, really want. That's a smaller size, right? And work towards that. If you, I told myself when I quit February 5th, if I quit, obviously my birthday was 8 months after. If I quit till my birthday, was when I told myself, I'm going to take myself on a Europe trip. Okay, so then 4 months before that, I'm going, booked my flight, and I'm going. Reward yourself, find that, whatever that is. If you've always dreamed about going, my dream of visiting is Egypt, book a flight to Egypt, book a hotel, and say the only way that I'm going to go on this trip is if I quit. That is something that we will look forward to. You will literally be on that trip. I remember going on my trip and getting to the airport, and it really didn't hit me until I was packing, but getting to the airport and sitting there on the plane that was about to take off, and I was flying direct to London, so the 10 hours, and I just was I fucking did it. I did it. I did it. No matter if I had doubts within myself or people around me or friend, whatever the fuck it was, people who doubt you, everyone doubts you. I did it. I'm on this fucking plane right now, and I'm going to Europe, and no one's stopping me. I have money saved up. I can do whatever I want on this trip, and I'm going. And that's the most beautiful thing is and someone also asked me, and this is really hard. I have my friend of mine has a alcoholic brother that's really been battling alcoholism for a long time. And she asked me, she said, Kyle, what advice can you give me to help him quit? And this could be if you have a friend that is addicted to drugs. Luckily I've never battled drug addiction, but I know people who have and who are no longer here because of it, which is really sad to me. And the biggest thing that you can do is just support them and put love and light and pray to them if that's what you believe in, or send them good energy or whatever it is. You, at the end of the day, that's the hardest thing to realize is someone has to want it for themselves. That's in a relationship, that's in a friendship, that's in a partnership, whatever it is, right? If you cannot change somebody unless they want to change themselves. And for me, I was so ready to change my life because I was done. I was done with the person that I was and was becoming, and the shit that I, just looked back on. I just was done. What's one thing that you've learned about yourself through this journey that has been a game changer? How amazing of a person I am. How amazing of a man I am. How amazing this life is. Truly, 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 that is probably the biggest thing I've learned about myself is how strong I am, right? I might not be physically the strongest I've ever been in my life right now, but I am mentally the most strongest I've ever been. I have the most confidence. I'm happy. People at my work know what Kyle's going to walk in the door. People every day in my life, when I meet them, they know what Kyle's going to walk through the door. That is the most beautiful thing. I am happy. And the biggest thing is I've really tried to be on this journey is, and my I guess my purpose is to be the earth. And I've worked so hard this last year to be the earth for everyone I meet. If you just talk to somebody and you just give them a happy, hey, how's your day? Or you're doing a great job. Like, just be the earth for every single person you meet. And that's my purpose personally. And my work, right? Like, I walk in there and I try to be the earth for everybody. And it took a long, hard, just lesson after lesson and building myself up to be able to be the earth, like sitting under trees and meditating and journaling and gratitude journals and self-work and inner child work and therapy sessions and acupuncture sessions. And I mean, seriously, it's been amazing. And then now I can sit in front of this camera and this has been healing. I have a little, like, this podcast has been beyond healing, and to be able to talk about it. And then I have a little from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and there's just so many beautiful things that I can be grateful for. And yes, just quitting alcohol was just a small part of that. If I would have just quit, cool, I don't drink. But now, like, this life, like, it's do the work, right? Like, grow, learn lessons. It's so beautiful. How do you see your life evolving in the future now that you've taken this major step in your healing journey? I see myself and my abilities, my empathic abilities, growing to a substantial amount. I see my life growing. I see myself having a beautiful family one day. I see myself happy and traveling and loving myself and being like a role model and someone that other people look up to talk about them. And I've had a lot of people reach out because of this podcast or personally asking me questions. And like, that to me is so healing. Like, a year ago, that would have never been a question. Like, your whole life can change truly in a year, right? I was sitting in front of like my life and I was so depressed and low and thinking that this moment right in front of this camera right now with this mic in front of me was not, I mean, you're talking a reach. This was like football fields away. There's no way I could have reached that point. And I did it within a year. Yes, I said it hasn't been easy and it's been a lot of work and diving deep, but it's so, our life can change like that, truly, if we wanted to. It takes a lot of work, it's determination, and it's honestly cutting people out of your life that don't have a purpose, that don't serve anything in your life, right? Like, I don't talk to my dad anymore. I wrote him a letter. I don't have any relationship with him, and I'm going to actually change my last name sometime soon. And it took me so long, right, to have that boundary and say, look, like, no. Why do I need you in my life? You don't have a purpose. You're just a trigger, right? Like, why do I need to keep you in my life? There's no reason. Yes, you're my father. And yes, you're the reason why I'm here. And yes, you're the reason, like, literally why I'm here, right? But what else are you? You've taught me nothing else except abandonment. And so I could sit there and there's so many lessons within that, but there's so much still to be grateful for. Like, I have a mom that loves me. I have friends that love me. I have mentors that have, basically taken me under their wing like a father. And I'm so beyond blessed for that, right? Like, there's so much to be thankful for and there's so much to be grateful for in this world, in this day, in this beautiful day on February 8th of 2025. Is there anything else you want to share about your healing journey that you think others might benefit from hearing? It's all going to be okay. Just because you're in this funk today doesn't mean you're going to be in this funk tomorrow. Like, if you have any questions, my phone is always on. A lot of you that are listening to this know my personal cell phone number. If you don't, reach out to me on Instagram or this podcast Instagram. Ask questions, talk to me. If it's private, I don't care. Call me on no caller ID. Like, I don't mind. This life is so beautiful. Like, truly, truly, truly. And there's so much to be thankful for, but I know how that is, right? Like, I know I was in the lowest of the low a year ago. And for many years before that, and I was not myself. I lost relationships and friendships, and for good reason. And sitting in front of you now, my whole life is so, 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 so different than it was a year ago. And yes, it's taken a lot of work, but reach out to me if you need resources or things that have personally helped me, or, just dive deep and do the work, because it's so worth it. And my closing statement is, I just want to say thank you guys. This has been a very healing thing for me to be able to do. It's been very scary. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a pretty private person, if you know me. Yes, I'm outgoing and I'm a total extrovert, but to talk about this type of stuff and my healing journey, only my true, really close friends knew about in the beginning, and now the whole world knows about it. Anyone could watch this video on YouTube. I don't know who is watching it. It's beyond healing, and thank you for this, because it has given me a way of speaking it, which is also a huge release. Yes, I can write it and burn it, but to be able just to say it, and I feel like I'm saying it now and it's gone, is so beautiful. And thank you for listening. Thank you for the support, for everyone reaching out to me and talking to me personally. Thank you. I'm beyond excited. I have a few people this week I'm going to be interviewing, and if you want to be interviewed, reach out to me. And it's crazy because everyone has their crutch. Like the amount of people who reach out to me talking, oh, I was addicted to this, or I was addicted to this. Do you mind having me on here? Like, I would have never known, right? Everyone is private about their stuff. Everyone's dealing with their stuff, right? Like, you go to these meetings and you think your story is bad, right? And you hear these stories and they will rock you. Everyone has a story. Everyone's walking this life dealing with anything. I mean, addiction, or they're depressed, or they're getting divorced, or, they have problems with their children, whatever it could be, health issues. Everyone's walking their path on anything, and their own journey. Like, please don't judge, right? It's so easy for us to sit there and judge a person on the side of the street that's homeless, but we don't know where they came from, or what made them get there, or the opposite things that happened to them, right? So that's the biggest thing, is just don't judge people, and just start a healing journey. Like, truly, it's a blessing. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to this, and I will see you next week. Hopefully I won't have this cast on anymore. All right, guys, much love. I really appreciate you. It's been a journey, and thank you for listening. Much love.